Hey guys, we are making vegetable soup today. It's not quite fall in Florida where I live yet. It's closer. There's a lot of pumpkin-y things hanging around, but we don't actually have nice fall weather yet. However, this week, this is gonna be my garbage bowl. This week I am doing just a little detox and I'm going grain, dairy, and meat free just for 5 days. Nothing crazy, nothing that is gonna cause me to lose weight or be low energy because I'm eating quite a bit. It's actually more of just kind of getting some of the bloat and salt and everything out of my body that has accumulated over the past few months. I've had a lot of fun in my birthday month, September. And now that we're on October and the holidays are upon us and Halloween is coming, so I know there's candy involved. And of course this week will be sugar-free too, aside from natural sugars and fruit that I will have in my Shakeology smoothies. Everything else is gonna be pretty clean. So I'm making this homemade vegetable soup because it's one of my favorite things to make and it's so easy to make. Now, if you've got an Instant Pot, you can throw all this together in the Instant Pot an hour before you're ready, or even last like 30 minutes. If you've got a crock pot, you can do this in the morning. Trying to think if I need any more. I'll probably use about half of that and I'll save the rest. And if you've got time before your school run, which is when I have time today, I am putting this in the big red pot and I'll let it kind of simmer and hang out until we're ready to eat. Vegetable soup's one of those things that pretty much as soon as you make it, you can usually eat it. So you're not really waiting for anything to cook, you're just waiting for it to get better, is all you're doing. As you can see, I haven't showered yet today. Okay, so in my big red pot, which is on the stove right here, I've got olive oil. And I'm putting in, that's about 3/4 of a large onion. And I've got that down around medium-high. Let that do its thing for a few minutes. I'm gonna add to it, I don't have any long carrots. I hate chopping baby carrots, but this is all I've got. So I'm just gonna do as many as I can at a time. There will also be carrots in the frozen vegetables that I throw in here, but they always end up a little smushier than fresh carrots. So there are 3 fresh vegetables I always like to add to my soups, and that is onions, carrots, add a couple more, okay, carrots, and celery. I believe that, what's his name? Emerald. I believe he calls this the Trinity. And that is onions, carrots, and celery. So I'm gonna put about 3, maybe 4 stalks of celery in there. And I'm gonna include the leaves, the tops, the whole thing. There's no part of celery that's not completely delicious. And if you actually want to save the tops for a salad, they make such a nice fresh flavor in your salad. I'm going to add them to my soup because they'll make such a nice fresh flavor in my soup. But if you don't want to add them to your soup, just making sure there's no dead tops on here. So that's just onion, carrots, and celery with olive oil in the bottom of this big red pot. Give all those guys a stir and turn up the heat just a little bit. Up next I have, these are lentils. Lentils are a yummy little legume. For some people, legumes of a certain sort rip up their bellies, make their bellies very unhappy. This happens to be one that if I don't eat in mass proportions, it doesn't bother me so much, and it's a nice source of protein. while I'm going meat-free this week. So that's about a cup, and I'm just gonna rinse them off in the water really quick. I'm gonna put these right in. Of course, these are going to be in with lots and lots of liquid here shortly. And because of that, they will cook properly. But for right now, I'm just putting them in there with the rest of the guys to hang out. Okay, up next, we are gonna add our herbs. Now, I love fresh herbs. However, one thing that we always waste on our fresh herbs is the, if I can get it out, stems, right? So I've got a nice stalk of rosemary here that I'm not gonna peel or anything. And I have a nice piece of twine. This is regular twine that I've actually washed with soap and water. This isn't actually gonna go in the soup, or very much of it won't really go in the soup, but I didn't want chemicals from the twine that they may have used to treat the twine or whatever to get into my soup. So I washed it, and I'm just gonna set it under the ends of all these lovely herbs. And then I also have a bunch of basil. So what I'm gonna do is pull the leaves and keep the stems. There's so much flavor in the stems of all your herbs. Really, smell the stems. You'll get a huge concentration of flavor. And because I'm planning on making pesto later this week, I don't want to use all my basil and parsley in my soup, but I do want the fresh flavor. Plus, when you put the actual herbs into anything that you're cooking, you will lose a little bit of their flavor because they'll cook down into your food. This way, you're getting a lot of the flavor, and you're not using or losing a lot of the herb itself. You can sprinkle the fresh herb on at the end instead of the beginning. Okay. So a couple little pieces fell out. I'll stick them back in here. Oop. Great. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of push these all to the end. They're all hanging down as far as they can be. And then I'm going to tie them onto a spoon. And then I'll lay the spoon across the top of my soup. Oops, I need to loosen it a little bit. And just depending on how deep your soup is how long you'll want your twine to be, but I know that my soup will come all the way up to the top. So then I'll just set this across the top like this, and after the soup has had time to cook for a while, I can pull all the stems out at once, no problemo. Cool little trick, right? All right, these are all starting to cook down really nicely. Up next, I'm gonna open a can of diced tomatoes. And you basically want all of the onions, carrots, and celery to start becoming translucent. They don't have to be completely translucent, but you want them to have just begun cooking when you pour in the diced tomatoes. Get all of them acquainted. Great. Then we get out our frozen vegetables. Now, here's where another little trick comes in. I love frozen vegetables in my soup because it's done. I didn't have to go buy 6 bags of frozen vegetables or fresh produce or whatever. This has in it tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, green beans, corn, lima beans, okra, onions, and celery. And this has broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. I'm probably not going to use all of both of these. But what I want you to keep in mind is that these, because they're frozen, are going to release some liquid of their own as they cook. Ooh, that looks so good. And that's a good thing. A bad thing would be if you add too much water. I'm just going to add some of this because I don't want a ton of cauliflower and broccoli in this. Great. A little left for a rainy day. There's actually not that much left in there. Maybe I'll just dump it in. Everybody will be fine. So as that releases water, that's going to create a little bit more of the base for your soup, the base liquid. But of course, you are going to have to add liquid to this. What you add is completely up to you. If you've got chicken broth, vegetable broth, whatever kind of broth you want to add, what I'm going to do is get some water. And because I don't have vegetable broth on hand and I'm using only vegetables and legumes and fruit this week during my little detox, I'm going to use vegetable bouillon cubes that I had in my cabinet. I'm just breaking them up a little bit in this water, and they will of course cook down completely on the heat on the stove. So right now the water, or the liquid, is right at level with all of our vegetables. And as our vegetables continue to cook, they will release some more liquid. So I think we're at a good liquidy spot right now. So I'm going to literally smush. Yeah, I should bring you over here a little bit. See if you can stand up, like right here. Woo! There. So I'm literally going to just smush these herbs into, I'll make a little space, into the liquid. Then I'm going to use my other spoon to kind of push the vegetables up over those herbs so that everybody's hanging out together. And remember, when I'm ready to take those herbs out, I just have to lift up my adorable little spoon, or spatula as it were. Got some pepper. You can dress this up with whatever seasonings you prefer. Remember, I've already put that bouillon in there, so there's quite a bit of salt. I don't want to add too much salt to this and just totally ruin the health factor. I'm also going to add some garlic salt because I didn't add fresh garlic. I could have, I forgot. So I'm just going to add that there because I didn't want a bunch of half-cooked garlic floating around in here. Great. And I'll probably continue seasoning this a little at a time. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, are we gonna add pasta to it? Are we gonna add rice? Are we gonna add, well, I'm not this week because I'm not eating grains this week, just for 5 quick days. And because of that, I'm not gonna add any pasta into this. I'm gonna cook it separately and add it in for those of the people in my family that are eating pasta this week. If I were going to add pasta to this, I would add at least another cup of water, and I would wait about 15 minutes before I was ready to serve to add the pasta to it, because the pasta will of course absorb a bunch of that and make this a much thicker soup if I don't add more liquid to it. So I'll give you one last little looky-loo of what I've got going on in here. Everybody's cooking up ready. It'll probably start
bubbling here in a few minutes. I'll turn it on low and then I will leave it for about an hour until it's time for me to go pick up my sweetie at school. At that point, I'll turn it off and leave the lid on it, let it thicken up a little bit, make some pasta when he gets home. Be a delicious, yummy vegetable soup. So easy, right? Just throw a bunch of stuff in a pot. Okay, see you tomorrow.